Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt your regularly scheduled programming for some news of epic proportion. Brace yourselves because back pain is on the loose and attacking the country once again. We go to Cornelius Jones, who is live now from the scene.
Yeah, man, I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty crazy out here. We urge citizens to take precautions, maintain proper posture, and seek relief through exercise and medical advice when you can. We'll keep you updated on a spine-tingling story as updates come in. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you for that, Cornelius. Until then, stay safe, folks, and remember this is a battle that we can conquer together.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Go, 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 go.
Hopefully that monster with atrocious posture didn't look too familiar, but chances are you've been told to sit up straight. And even greater chances are, as you're watching this, you're readjusting your posture and questioning your postural existence as we speak. And although it probably isn't the most pleasant thing to hear, it's not completely incorrect. When we adapt bad postures while working, sitting, driving, or anything else that makes our body weaker, muscles become inactive, our brain receives less oxygen, and it limits our body's ability to deal with stress placed upon it, including mental stress. The fact is, folks, posture and your brain chemistry are indeed linked. For example, did you know the hip flexors, essentially the muscles which bring your knees closer to your chest, are one of the muscle groups which commonly tighten when you're afraid, stressed, or anxious. And let's be real here, oftentimes throughout the course of the day, things happen that make us change our posture so many times we lose track of how we actually started off. And that's where this video comes in. We seldom stop to think about how postures, such as rounded back, can actually contribute to various disorders ranging from back pain and digestive issues to increased mental fatigue and prolonged anxiety. For example, did you know that poor posture can predispose you to increased levels of anxiety and fatigue? So let me start things off here by saying yes, there is a high likelihood of a link between our posture, stress tolerance, and overall sense of wellness, which includes a state of mental well-being. But if you will, let's take things back. I mean way back. About 65 million years. Okay, maybe not that far back, but back far enough to a time when we as human beings didn't have lattes, Netflix, and light bulbs. A time when things were not only hairier, but quite scarier for human beings as well. If you've ever attempted to make yourself seem small as possible or watched a ton of horror movies, you may have noticed that there's a posture which is quite common in these scenarios, and that is the fetal position. But why? Well, at the most primal level, we associate this posture with a sense of security. After all, it's the first posture we ever adapt even before birth. But notice the similarities between this and something like a slouch posture at your desk or in the car. Now, I'm no psychologist, but it would make a fair bit of sense that we could default to a posture like this one to shield ourselves from unpleasant things. Either way we choose to look at it, posture and your mental state are linked, and they take part in a cyclic interaction of sorts. And when it comes to any form of slouch posture, we are likely to see a rise in a hormone called cortisol. Have you heard of it? Now, cortisol essentially is your body's way of responding to stress. What happens? You feel fear or stress, the body's sympathetic nervous system response tells the adrenal glands to release hormones such as adrenaline and norepinephrine, and ultimately cortisol prompts your cells to release sugar into your blood so that you can essentially fight or flight. Interestingly enough though, cortisol doesn't only increase in response to stressful external stimuli, but it can be triggered by adopting poor postures as well. Starting to see where I'm going with this here? But as you've probably begun to adjust your posture again while watching this, I'm hoping you can appreciate the very cyclic interaction on both sides of the spectrum here, physically and mentally. You see, we're discussing bad posture and mental states as the roots of the issue. However, let's consider the many factors which keep this cycle in motion. So studies have shown that something as simple as adjusting the posture in ways which allow for better breathing can spark a cycle of positive feedback within the mind-body connection. If you've ever heard someone mention a feeling akin to a euphoric high after breathing in pure oxygen, there's a reason for that. Whether it be our muscles or our mood, the brain is the control center which ultimately dictates both. So it stands to reason the better the brain is given resources, aka oxygen, the better it is to be able to perform its functions in most cases. And aside from glucose, the most important resource for your brain is oxygen, air, good old O2. Facts at a glance, the brain consumes about 20% of our energy intake, so it makes sense that when it receives an influx of oxygen, it starts to feel really good. In return, it'll release the feel-good hormones such as serotonin, dopamine, and oxytocin, sort of its way of letting the body know, hey, everything's alright. As a result of your muscles receiving oxygen-rich blood from this breathing that you will do, they will be more inclined to relax as well. Folks, this leads us to techniques which feature something we call autonomic calming. Autonomic calming refers to literally calming down one of your nervous system pathways known as the autonomic nervous system. This nervous system takes care of things which we deem automatic: digestion, heartbeat, and most other forms of smooth muscle control. Autonomic calming is a useful tool which only requires attention to breathing in order to sway things back to the state of stillness, so to speak. The first technique is known as diaphragmatic breathing. All you're going to need to do is breathe in and out without having your shoulders go up and down wildly. Are you with me? Let's give it a try. First, I want you to get the basic breathing down correctly. So take a look at yourself in the mirror. Are your shoulders rising and falling when you breathe in and out? You're probably holding a ton of tension in your neck and shoulders if so, and we need to re-educate your body on how to breathe using muscles designed to help you with that, one of them being your diaphragm. You can think of the diaphragm as this huge trampoline which sits beneath your lungs, serving as a vacuum to suck in air every time you inhale. So when you breathe in, you want to essentially fill your belly with as much air as possible. Do it correctly, and you should not only notice your stomach expand, but your shoulders should stay relatively calm as well. The exhale is not that much different. All you're going to do is pull the belly button towards the spine, gently squeezing the air that you just inhaled out. Again, there should be very little change in the height of your shoulders. All right, ladies and gents, let's recap on what we learned. We know that there's a definite link between the way our posture is and the way we feel on an emotional level, and that link can go both ways. We know postures which shrink our airways, such as forward slouching postures, make it harder to send more oxygen to our brain and thus impair overall wellness and bodily function. And finally, we know that the nature of this dynamic is cyclic. Tighter muscles, increased anxiety, brain fog, and physical fatigue all feed into each other if we don't intervene. We also know that there is hope. We can change this dynamic for the better by choosing something as simple as the way we breathe and using that as a platform for opening the body up to more forms of tension alleviation, whatever that may look like for you. Remember, our brains are the command center for both our body and our behavior. And this is just the tip of the iceberg, folks. There's so much more on this topic than I've covered here, but I hope I've given you some tools in conjunction with the rest of the videos in this series to help you start moving and feeling better. I highly encourage discussion in the comments below on this one, folks, as it sorely needs some more attention. But until next time, you guys know what I always say: may the best of your todays be the worst of your tomorrows. Peace.